I used to replace the honourable gentleman on LBC, so we've known each other for many years. The disgraceful, racist language that we heard from a Reform MP last week belongs in the dark ages.
David Lammy responds strongly to Nigel Farage's behaviour in Parliament. You're not going to believe what just happened. Because while most people were scrolling through the usual political noise, something far more intense was unfolding inside Parliament, something that has already ignited a storm across the UK. This isn't just another debate, not just another headline. This is one of those moments that forces everyone to stop and say, all right, what's really going on here? Because David Lammy, after days of complete silence, has finally broken through, responding directly, boldly, and unmistakably to what he calls Nigel Farage's troubling behaviour in Parliament. And the reaction is massive. Let's dive in. It started during a tight, tension-filled session, the kind where every MP's expression tells you more than the words they're saying. Nigel Farage stood, spoke, and delivered his point with that familiar, sharp-edged confidence. Some say confidence, others say something else. Witnesses inside the chamber said Farage used a tone that felt dismissive, almost dominant, in a room that already carries years of political friction. And that was it. That was the moment everyone felt the temperature shift. But instead of rising to the heat instantly, instead of firing back then and there, David Lammy stayed quiet. Calm. Watching. Observing. Until today. When Lammy finally stepped forward to address what happened, the room went quiet. Not because he raised his voice, but because he didn't. He spoke slowly, carefully, but every word landed. He said, "Parliament demands respect, and what we witnessed crossed a line that shouldn't be crossed." Not dramatic, not emotional, just firm. He continued, "Disagreement is part of democracy, but behavior that sidelines others, behavior that turns debate into performance, that weakens the institution we're all meant to protect. No shouting, no personal attacks. Just a pointed reminder. Parliament isn't a stage, and MPs aren't props." It was Lammy's tone, calm, steady, but incredibly direct, that made people stop and listen. Here's the thing. Lammy and Farage have never exactly lived in the same political universe. Their ideologies clash dramatically. Their visions for the country sit miles apart. But this moment wasn't just political, it felt symbolic. Many insiders say Farage's return to Parliament has reshaped the energy in the chamber. Some love it. Some don't. But nobody denies it has shifted the atmosphere. One parliamentary reporter said, "Farage doesn't enter the room quietly. He brings a storm with him, whether you agree with him or not." So when Lammy finally spoke out, it wasn't just about one moment, it was about what that moment represents. A clash of political worlds. A clash of leadership styles. A clash of personalities so strong, you can feel it through a screen. The reaction was instant. Tweets started flying. One user wrote, "Finally, someone called it out. Parliament isn't a talk show." Another said, "Farage is shaking up the old system and some people can't handle it." Supporters and critics of both men jumped into the conversation. Political commentator Jessica Harwood told a radio station, "This isn't about who's right or wrong, it's about tone. Tone shapes the public mood, and right now, moods are sharp." Even insiders inside Westminster shared their thoughts. One Labour MP said privately, "Lammy had to respond. He couldn't let that go." Meanwhile, a Reform UK staffer pushed back. "Farage speaks plainly. If people call that behaviour unusual, maybe they're not used to honesty." And that right there shows exactly why this moment is blowing up. Because this isn't just political disagreement. It's emotional, it's cultural, it's personal, and it's everything simmering beneath UK politics, bubbling to the surface. So here's the big question people are asking right now. Is this just the beginning of a much bigger clash? Because if Lammy's response today is any sign, the tone in Parliament is shifting, and fast. For Labour supporters, this moment feels like a line being drawn. For Reform UK supporters, it feels like confirmation that Farage is shaking the old system. For political analysts, it's a preview of future fireworks. Several experts say we're heading toward louder debates, sharper exchanges, and more public reaction than ever. Because these two figures, Lammy and Farage, represent two completely different visions of what Parliament should look like. One insider put it perfectly. If this is round one, imagine round two. So here we are. A single moment in Parliament. A single shift in tone. And suddenly, the entire country is buzzing about what comes next. David Lammy has spoken, Nigel Farage has stirred the room again, and Westminster feels like a pot just beginning to boil. But the real question now is this. If this is only the start, how much louder will the next clash be? And more importantly, what does this mean for the future of Parliament itself? Because if today showed us anything, it's that the political temperature in the UK isn't rising, it's already hot. And the heat isn't going anywhere.